Good morning. I'm calling to order a regularly scheduled meeting of the Committee of the Whole. My name is Elizabeth Glidden. I'm the chair of this committee, and I'm joined today by council members Gordon, Reich, Yang, Quincy, Fry, and Palmisano. And we are a quorum of this committee. We have two presentations on our agenda for today. The first is from the mayor's office relating to collaborative public safety strategies. The second is a special presentation from the Hennepin County Attorney, Mike Freeman. And so we are first going to start with the agenda item on collaborative public safety strategies. I'm not sure kind of if anyone's introducing the mayor, if the mayor is going ahead. So welcome, Mayor Betsy Hodges.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you very much. Very excited and eager to give this update to you today about the collaborative strategies for public safety in North Minneapolis and at Little Earth. In the wake of the 4th Precinct occupation, which was in the wake of the shooting of Jamar Clark, and the conversation that we as a community were having before, during, and after that time period, one voice became, or one idea became clear out of the voices of the community, and that was people wanted to have more responsibility for public safety in their communities. And that was one theme that was echoing through all these community conversations that we've had. And there were some specific requests about ways that that could happen: a mental health co-responder strategy, a group violence intervention strategy, both of which you funded in the budget for this year and are proceeding and going along nicely. And as I was pulling together the budget last year and thinking through how else can we invest in community in ways that would give them more responsibility for public safety, it sort of came to me, we don't have to decide that. As a matter of fact, we can invite the communities most affected, especially by youth violence. We can invite them to make decisions about what the best strategies could be to interrupt negative behaviors in their neighborhoods and create more safety as a result. And from that grew what I'll be reporting back on today was an investment in the budget last year, which reads, and as I described it at the time, $500,000 for collaborative, community-driven public safety strategies in 2 locations with high levels of youth violence: West Broadway between Lyndale and Girard, and Little Earth. This innovative initiative will provide technical and financial resources for residents and business owners of these areas and the community-based organizations that serve them to decide for themselves what downstream public safety interventions would best improve public safety there. So, this hasn't been done anywhere in the country, although we are starting to get some requests. And in addition to that investment, $500,000 to be divided between those two communities, Cities United, and you'll hear from Anthony Smith in a moment, agreed to come on and help do the technical assistance, walk the community through to create a set of criteria, to create a process, and to help drive to outcomes. And in the budget process, we created a timeline saying, you know what, let's get that money out the door by June so we can have maximum impact yet this summer. And we are on track to do that. So here's an overview and an update on the process since that decision was made, and then I will in a moment turn it over to Anthony Smith to give a more detailed and fine-grained description of where the process is at now. Cities United has been here and been on the ground in community over several weeks in the last few months. They've been getting to know community stakeholders, had, I don't know, he'll describe, so many meetings with so many folks, one-on-one, in groups, both in Little Earth and over north. And there are a couple of key community organizations who are assisting this work. The Native American Community Development Institute, NACD, near Little Earth, and the West Broadway Coalition on the north side. And we have a representative here from that organization. And what they've been doing is developing a process that has been shaped and that has been formed by the community. What are the criteria? What are the process? How is the decision going to get made? Who's going to make these decisions? And have been developing a scoring matrix that's based on the conversations they've been having with community members. against which the proposed ideas will be measured and scored by teams of community reviewers. In other words, Conversation with Community has developed a set of criteria. That criteria will be a scoring matrix as the ideas, because what will happen next is ideas will come forward from the community, and there will be a set of community reviewers who will score those ideas against the criteria that have already been developed. So what's next? The opening the call for ideas and community reviewers is going to happen on the 21st of this month. The first round of proposal reviews will happen on May 11th and 12th. The proposal development workshops, so the ideas will come, some of them will need more development or more work or fleshing out more. Hey, this is a good idea, let's see how it works better. Those workshops will happen between the 18th and the 20th of May. And the final community review process will be at the end of May, so May 30th through June 2nd. And the funds will be distributed by June 16th, as was decided during the budget process, as you all decided. And we are working with the finance department to make sure that they have those in place and can disperse the funds. And so the reason to have the decisions made by the beginning of June is so that any of the process that needs to happen to get the dollars out the door by the deadline can be met. And we are on process and on time to do that and make those dates. So there are some requirements that were, there are ideas and requirements for the proposals that were generated by the community. I believe Anthony can go over those. And there will be a communications plan for getting word out, both about the fact that there is a call for proposals, that people can be community reviewers, letting people know what the process and the plan is. I will say this has generated a lot of excitement and a lot of interest among residents, both North and South Minneapolis. And we will be sharing a write-up, a timeline, and talking points with you ahead of the opening the call for ideas so that you know and are armed with the information you need to make sure that when people ask you questions about this process, you know what the process is and continue to get the updates that you need. So this is exciting. You all have helped instigate a process that no other city in the country has done at a time when I think community voices in public safety are needed most, given the conversation we've been having. It's one of the ways we have of building trust between the city, between law enforcement and the community, but it's also one of the ways we have of building safety in the communities, these organically grassroots generated ideas about what's going to keep the community safe. The criteria generated by the community, the ideas generated by the community, the decision made by the community, and the city investing in that work. Never been done in any city before, and we're getting a lot of interesting questions from other places to see how this works. So to describe this process in more detail and to walk through a little bit more about the process and the criteria is Anthony Smith. He is the Executive Director of Cities United, who have been providing so much help and support in this process. Their mission is to create safe, helpful, hopeful communities by reducing violence among Black men and boys. And I have known Anthony a long time. Cities United was formed by some mayors a few years back who said this is one of the key issues facing us as a community. How can we as cities really have an impact on making our communities safer? And so I knew when I had this idea, I thought, I better call up some folks and just see, is this way out of pocket? Is this doable? And so I knew one of the people I needed to call, and I did, was Anthony. And not only did he think it was a good idea, he offered to help. And between that phone call and this moment, a lot of things have happened, some of which I have just described. And I'm very honored to introduce to you Anthony Smith, who is with Cities United and helping lead this work.
Thank you, and welcome, Mr. Smith.
So good morning, and thank you all for allowing me to come and share this update with Mayor Hodges. As she said, I'm the Executive Director for Cities United, and we support a network of mayors in 92 cities in about 32 states over the country, really helping them think about how do they create communities that are safe, healthy, and hopeful for all of our young people, but really looking at how we reduce the homicide rate of African-American men and boys. And as Mayor Hodges stated, what you all are doing here in Minneapolis has not been done anywhere. And we've been sharing this process as it's been building out with other folks who are very interested in how they can duplicate this and take it on, just because of where we are as a country around this conversation around what public safety really looks like and feels like for communities. Communities want to own more of their what that looks like, but also want to work in partnership with their law enforcement and with the civic and communities at large. So we really came on board to, as I said, we support a network of mayors. And when mayors call with great ideas and great things that we can support, we jump on. And this was one of those things that when Mayor Hodges calls, we said, how can we be helpful? And the way we come in is we provide technical assistance with our team, but also with other national experts that we work with across the country. And we do that pro bono to cities. So there's no charge to the cities when we come in and do our work. We raise our own funding to come in and support cities because we also know cities' budgets are always kind of tight. So we never want to come in and take anything off the top of that. So the work that we're doing here on the ground is all pro bono to Minneapolis and to the mayors and to you all to make sure that we get the best product. But what we do get out of that is a proof of concept that we can then take across the country and help other cities do their work better, right? So it's not that we don't get anything out of it. It's that we get to say this is what worked and this is how you can adapt it in your city and how you can help your citizens be more engaged. And then again, this is also for us, we get to document this process, like I said, and really take it back to all of our mayors. Our ultimate goal is to work with 500 mayors over the course of that next 8 years. So to be able to have this model and have it online and really have it something that they can really dive into is very important to us because as you heard Mayor Hodges also say, part of this for us is how do you build a network of mayors and community members who are working together across the country, sharing best practices and sharing best ideas, really to make sure that we have the best country possible and everybody gets to live out their dreams. So a little bit of what we've been doing and learned so far. Over the past few months, the team and I, most of my team has been on the ground. Last time they were here, I think they held over 11 meetings in both of the communities collaborative. And I really have just been spending time getting to know Little Earth and know West Broadway and work with and in partnership. So we don't never want to come in the city and act like we know everything. We want to come in and get to know the city and figure out what folks need and how we can be helpful there. So we've been really spending time, numerous meetings and conversations with young people, anywhere from 9 years old all the way up to 70 years old. We've been trying to have conversations with all of those folks to make sure that everybody's voice has been heard. We've been having big meetings, small meetings, and really have just been really trying to provide connections and some reciprocity in this conversation so that folks can influence the process as we continue to build it out. Folks have been really giving us a lot of rich solutions to tackle the issue around addiction prevention, intervention, and supplemental abuse of young people and really making sure young folks are at the center of the conversation. And really just looking at how a lot of this for us has been exciting is that the folks that we've been talking to in both communities are really committed to and are advocates for their neighborhoods and their communities. And wherever we go, we talk about this, people jump right in and say, how can we be helpful? And what do you need from the grocery stores to the everyday residents? And next for us, this week we're here through Friday, wrapping up meetings with communities. We're going to be doing our final input process, and then we're going to be looking to do some calls at the end of April for ideas, so that we can get those ideas in from folks and really start looking at that process. Our team will be on the ground throughout the process, really providing support to the mayor's office and to the community as a whole to make sure that we get the best ideas and get as many ideas as possible so that we can really do this. And then, as you heard the mayor's outline, we really want this money, the money will be out the door by June. We want to make sure that folks are ready to do that work and make sure that you guys have a safe and healthy summer. And then also, we will be back here for our national convening. Minneapolis is going to be where we host our national convening April the 23rd through the 25th, where we will bring in mayors and folks from across the country. We usually bring in about 350 to 400 folks who come in, and we would love to be able to talk about what you guys have done and where you're at, and what the outcomes are coming from the process so far. So we are committed to Minneapolis and committed to this partnership. And again, just thank you all for your leadership and seeing this as a way to go and really providing this opportunity for citizens to make an impact in their community. So with that, thank you all.
Thank you very much. So with that, I don't know if there was anything else from the mayor, or I'm not seeing that. Okay. So thank you for that. And I will note that this was a presentation that through staff direction at the budget process was intended for the Public Safety Committee, and that is really the home committee to kind of talk about these things, but through some timing issues and other things, and also the citywide impact, I know the mayor wanted an opportunity to address this topic to everyone. I can't, I think it was Councilmember Yang who raised his little red thing first.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. When I look back at the staff direction that happened during the budget session, it asked for a report back to the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee by March 15th. And, with regards to this, I'd like to move that we refer this back to Public Safety for further reports. And, just to kind of speak a little bit about this, I think that the work that's being done here is really important, and I am looking forward to what comes out of it. I think $250,000 is a start, but I think in some ways there probably needs to be a lot more funds to really address the problems that are happening out there. And so, with that, I will just make that motion.
Okay. And Council President Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I, too, was curious as to why this came to committee of the whole, but I understand now. But I do think it's important. I have, no piece of paper showing what this program is about or any kind of report about the input that you've had from the community so far. You're talking about, the mayor talked about a set of criteria. I'd like to know what those criteria are. Also, a set of community reviewers. Who are those people? And then when does the city council, actually, the people that represent that area, when do they have a chance for input? I appreciate that. I understand there's supposed to be some young people from PCYC here today, which was a suggestion that I made that you visit with them, and I'm glad you did that. The other thing that I just wanted to mention is Councilmember Yang and I met with Sandra Samuels a couple weeks ago, and a couple of her staff people who live, and they work in the Northside Achievement Zone, so on the corner of Penn and Broadway, and met with a couple of her staff people who live right in the neighborhood and some of the challenges that they've experienced. So I would suggest that you talk to them too. And one of the things that they mentioned, the people that live in the community, was the benefit of some of the youth workers that do street outreach. They've been on West Broadway before. We, have pulled back on them, but the value of that is really important. And I see as downtown policing strategies have been developed, that's a real key part of what they're doing with some of the resources, the added resources downtown. So I just would suggest that you check in with Sandra, and I'm sure you probably have, but it was interesting to meet with her employees who had just horrible stories to tell, I guess I would say, about their concerns about safety on West Broadway. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm not seeing further questions, so I'm going to add to the request that we're going to have further reports go to the Public Safety Committee just to receive and file, which is our action on this. So with that, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that item is completed. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and Mr. Smith, and we appreciate you being with us this morning. Next, we have our second presentation, which is a special update from Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman. Mr. Freeman.
Madam Chair and members, thank you very much for having me, and I trust I didn't violate council protocol by asking you to appear before the committee of the whole. But I'm in the process, as I have done either every year or every other year, of sharing with city councils across Hennepin County what's going on in the crime world, and being the biggest entity in Hennepin County, I wanted to come and share with all of you. So, Madam Chair, thank you for providing me this opportunity. I want to start off first by thanking the Minneapolis Police and Chief Harteau. Policing is tough business, as you all know, and this police department has done more training and more work on things like implicit bias and de-escalation than almost any other police department in the country. And I'm proud of them for what they do. Police departments, like prosecutors and maybe even city council members, make mistakes. And unfortunately, their mistakes are often result in injury to people or in failure to complete the job they're designed to do. Now, I'm not absent from making mistakes. And like you, sometimes mine end up on the front page of the paper. But I own up to them, and You know, we do make mistakes, as they do. But I'm proud the way they're working at trying to deal with them. But I want to say something, particularly as a former legislator who voted for 3 significant tax increases in my years in the Minnesota Senate, that I appreciate the mayor and the council having the courage, and that's exactly what it is, the courage to fund your police department appropriately. It'd be pretty easy to, because there's a lot of money that goes there to fudge here or take a little bit here and not have to raise property taxes or do other things there. You have stood up to the plate consistently and funded your police department and your other city services appropriately. And I thank you for that. And I am quite convinced that when you face the voters, that they won't think too critically of you for funding your police department appropriately. And I particularly want to thank the council president for having done that for many years. Thank you, Council President. And I want to say that we have good relationships with Minneapolis Police. We have different jobs. Police arrest and investigate, and we charge and prosecute. And there are occasions when police officers come to us and say, "We got a great case for you, Mike. Easy charge." And we say, "Well, wait a minute. This is hearsay, and I can't use it. And are you sure that the forensics will hold up? I know you believe that they are, and you know this fingerprint is good, but are you sure of that?" And sometimes we have to say no. Or more often, we send them back to do more things, and the police say, "Those damn attorneys, they won't take a case to court unless we got 3 eyewitnesses, 2 confessions, DNA, fingerprints, everything." That's healthy tension, members of the council. That's healthy tension and reflecting what we do in our jobs. But it's really healthy, and I think we do pretty well. And I think the results are pretty good. Let me give you some big picture, longer term numbers, because you get the shorter term from your police department. And ours are a little different because we see them in prosecutors. But overall, property crime cases in Minneapolis have declined over the last 5 years. You say it again, property crime has declined by the big numbers. And we've had some incredibly large declines. Now, we've had some movement up and down in violent crimes. And that's just going to occur. And you can't look at 1 month to another month, or frankly, even 1 year to another year. But dealing with some numbers for you all, because it's really fascinating. Let me just say, I'm looking at numbers going back to 1980, okay? But in robberies, the high year was 1995, and 2015 was one of the lower numbers. It decreased in half. Robberies. Ag assaults down in a third. Burglaries down from the high year of 1981 to last year, down by 2/3. Overall, violent crimes are down by 40% over a 10-year period of time. Now, we have blips, ups and downs, but if you look at that overall, that's pretty impressive numbers. Now, as long as we have any crimes, we have too many crimes. And we have some that have come up. Third-degree homicides for drug overdoses went from 4 to 24, Hennepin County wide, because people who sell or barter or give this junk away are putting worse and worse things into it and are killing more people. And we have been very aggressive about prosecuting those cases. This isn't the user, because tragically the user is dead when we get this case. This is the people who sell this crap. And we have no time and few plea bargains for those kind of folks. So let me just say, on the numbers side, we've made real progress. Now, if you or your neighbor is burglarized, doesn't matter what the overall numbers are, your house has been hit, and we work hard at those. But I think there has real progress been made, and for that, I really credit 3 entities. First off, community organizations, some of which are here today, make a real difference. If civilians and people don't come forward, cops don't have a case, and if the cops don't have a case, we don't have one. And people in our community, because I'm a Southwest Minneapolis resident, prominently represented by a council member, if they don't do that, the cops can't do their job and we can't do ours. And there's a real sense of cooperation. Secondly, your police are professional. Again, they make mistakes like all of us, but they give us good cases and testify well. And finally, I'd like to say we have a little part in making our streets safe. Our successful prosecution rate changes a little year to year, but it's always in the high 80% and low 90s. That means for every case we charge, 9 out of 10 either come in with a guilty plea or were found guilty at time of trial. That's about right. If we're a whole lot better than that, then we probably aren't taking chances at cases that are historically hard to prove, like domestic abuse or sexual abuse or child abuse. Those are hard cases. Often it's one-on-one. And we rely on the forensics and other evidence that isn't as solid. I'm willing to take a charge in some of those because, not much worse than abusing a child. And usually the people who do it are sick, but they need to be called on the mat for that. And if they're just